Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You're listening to Season 6, Episode 14 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time podcast is also sponsored by Sioux Sports. To check out Sioux Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True Host Media and True North Radio, visit siouxsports.com as well as Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, we welcome you back to Full Time, where we get to have a discussion about the beautiful game. Gee, how are you tonight, my friend, on this very snowy evening, might I add?
I was just about to say I'm really, really cold. That's where we're at. I don't want to say it came out of nowhere. Kind of blink and you miss it, and all of a sudden we got snow. Is what it is. But how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. Really good, in fact. And yeah, I think the snow's here to stay now. We kind of had that rain on and off, a little bit of snow and sleet, but definitely winter has arrived. In today's show, we will take a look at the MLS Playoffs and the Carabao Cup. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We begin today's show with a look at the MLS playoffs. The conference semifinals have concluded, which means that the conference finals are on the horizon. G, first and foremost, what were your thoughts on the 4 games that took place this past weekend in the MLS playoffs?
A lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be a little more like Wild West shootouty, goals galore. Outside of one game, which we'll get to, really, really tight and really entertaining games. Again, as a neutral with no real allegiances to any of these teams, I've been kind of wanting to see Messi win it just for fun. Just like really, really thoroughly entertained. Didn't even kind of have them on as like background noise, was like actually invested in watching them. I thought they were fantastic.
I thought they were fantastic as well, and it was a great way to spend the weekend evenings, no doubt about it. And I'm really looking forward to the first game that we're going to talk about. That was definitely my favorite. But we are going to take a look at the winners that have been confirmed, and that will mean that those are the final 4 teams, of course, in the MLS, and they will be ready to compete for their spot in the MLS Cup final next week. We'll take you through the conference semifinals here and now. First, it was Vancouver who took on LAFC. After Vancouver found themselves up 2 goals to the good, it was Heung-min Son who scored not once, but twice to bring things level, forcing extra time and eventually penalty kicks. Vancouver did find the edge thanks to 2 missed penalties from LAFC, which means that Vancouver advances to the conference finals. Gee, this was my favorite contest. I think that was kind of the spoiler in the giveaway. But it was also a fiery contest. It had a little bit of everything, including a red card for Vancouver in the 102nd minute. This is what football is all about, so take us through your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, we kind of briefly talked when we were previewing it, how, kind of the the LAFC like star power of Heung-min Son and like kind of the money that they spend on their designated players could probably be the difference here. And just it didn't turn out kind of as the difference that we expected, with Heung-min Son missing the first penalty in the shootout, kind of setting the tone. Obviously scored the 2 goals in the game to send them to the shootout, but yeah, just not what you expect from the big money DP, probably the best player in the league. But what a game! Just I think this is like a perfect. This was like the perfect MLS playoff game in my head. Like, this is exactly like if I want to show someone, someone European who really didn't like MLS, didn't get it, or just a not soccer fan in general, like this would be the game I show them. Like, you get the drama, the late equalizer, the red cards, the shootout. Like, it was perfect. I thought Vancouver, I don't want to say they played a perfect game, but they played about as perfect a game as you could, given the red card and the circumstances. I thought they were phenomenal, and I mean, we've seen that from them basically all season at this point. I thought this was just a fantastic game.
Yeah, and I said that this is what football's all about. This is what the MLS is all about in terms of what the game can provide. And like you said, if you were to show or tell anybody about a game in the MLS and truly what it means, this game would be it. Loved every minute of it, and for it to end on penalties was an absolute treat, especially as a neutral. The first word is dominant. The next two words are Lionel Messi. Both being synonymous, Messi leads Inter Miami past Cincinnati by a score of 4-0 as Messi scores one and assists three. Cincinnati couldn't lay a glove on Inter Miami, and it's Messi and company who are moving on to the conference finals. Your analysis of this one.
I mean, honestly, just saying Lionel Messi kind of sums up most of this for me. Just if you were to show someone, if you want to show someone what Lionel Messi is all about, this would be the game to show them. Just a hand in everything, just phenomenal. And it's something maybe not as like pronounced in his game. It never really was, but just his work off the ball, his defensive work to. And again, it's not huge. He's not playing a perfect 200-yard clearing off the goal line game. Like, don't ever get that twisted. But just it's what he does for his teammates when he doesn't have the ball that just like really stood out for me in this game. So obviously the goals and the assists are fantastic. But it's not like he just walks around and does nothing for 90 minutes until he has to do that. I thought this was a brilliant game from him individually, a fantastic game from Inter Miami as a whole, and really a tone setter for the rest of the playoffs here. I know there's only 3 games left, but if you're dropping one of these in one of the last games of the season, it's kind of everyone else is really paying attention.
Oh, very much so. And I know we're talking about MLS, but anytime that I still see Ronaldo or Messi doing what they're doing, it just puts into perspective to me and for me how lucky that I've been to witness basically their whole careers, like up close and personal as a true fan of the sport. And it just always amazes me how nobody can get near Messi. And when they try, it's just, you've made a mistake before you've even made a defensive action. It's absolutely incredible. So if the rest of the teams in the MLS playoffs weren't on notice, they certainly are now. Inter Miami, the clear and out favorites. It took a great deal of hanging on, but New York City FC beats Philadelphia by a score of 1-0, and they book their place in the Final Four. A Maxi Morales goal in the 27th minute is the ultimate difference here. Take us through it.
Yeah, you want to talk about like fine margins, almost even possession, almost equal expected goals. Philadelphia had a few more shots, but not very many more on target. Just a really, really, like I said, fine margins is probably the best you can put it. Maxi Morales is one of the better players in the league, obviously being a difference maker for New York City. Just a real bummer for Philadelphia, considering the season they've had and how good they've been, and not just this season. They've actually been quite good for a few years now. Still, just kind of not getting that step over the line. But for New York City, kind of experience making the difference for them. Obviously, it hasn't been like recent. It's been a couple years since they won. But seeing those kind of experienced heads still involved and keeping them kind of on target is not overly surprising. I thought this was a really fun game to watch. Maybe not the most exciting, most thrilling watch, but tactically, I thought it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, and this kind of goes straight to the point that you mentioned before we started reviewing the games, that it was a lot closer than most people expected. And this definitely was a tight one, despite the fact that maybe it wasn't the best game ever, had good tactical elements, and it was close right to the very end. One goal would settle the score between San Diego FC and Minnesota. The 72nd minute San Diego goal would be the difference, as they would go on to beat Minnesota by a score of 1-0. We both picked this one wrong, but a huge win for San Diego.
Yeah, and again, another 1-0 game. We were just talking about one, but like totally opposite stories here. This was, San Diego dominating for most of the game and really just kind of not capitalizing on chances to make it 2 or 3-0, which is not at all what I expected to play out. I really thought, if you had told me that, one of these teams is going to dominate a 1-0 victory, I would have assumed Minnesota. But really surprised by the San Diego result. And they've been fantastic all season. And again, not really an individual not like a standout single player. I think just the team as a whole, the subs that came in, I just thought everyone was really, really committed to the bit. It wasn't the prettiest game you're ever going to see, but I thought they were really, really great. Kind of great money for value for money, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, like for I believe this is their first season, if I'm not mistaken, right? To be in the conference final already, and again, they don't have like a a fantastically star-studded team. It's just a group of 20 odd guys committed to that style of play, and playing for each other, playing for the coach, and just a really, really I don't want to say shocking result, but I really would not have predicted this.
Yeah, me neither. And I think if you're San Diego, that locker room and that training ground must be buzzing to thinking, well, nobody's betting anything on us. We might as well just keep plugging away and ticking along, right? So they're in that perfect pocket right now. So good on them. And to review our picks, Gitano, we both went 2 for 4, but not too bad, I would say, given the complexity of the games. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, 2 for 4 is better than 0 for 4, and I've had some stinkers the last few predictions, so I'm happy to take 50% on that. Yeah, I thought again, considering how it's MLS playoffs, final 8 teams, like never expected to go 4 for 4. We knew there was going to be an upset in there. So yeah, I'll take 50% if you'll take 50%.
I'm going to gladly take 50%, and that makes 4 out of 4 when we combine our picks. So that's great. Two halves of a perfect footballing brain, to coin your famous phrase that one time a couple years back. Brilliant. And now it is time to take a look into the conference finals, where 4 teams will look to claim their spot in the MLS final, but only 2 will. First, it will be Inter Miami going up against New York City. Gitano, who wins this game and why?
I mean, it's hard to say anything but Inter Miami, considering that last performance and just considering the form that Lionel Messi is in. Um, Not that he's wouldn't ever be motivated to win, but I just think, this close to MLS Cup, doesn't have one yet. He's the type of guy that wants. If you put him in our men's league, he wants to win it. Like, he's not. If we played futsal with him in the elementary school gym, he'd want to win it. So I think just that motivation for him, for that group around him, and it's not that they don't have quality around there too. It's the motivation plus all of that quality. I just really don't see New York City. Not that it's going to be a blowout, but I just don't think they stand a chance against this Inter Miami team.
Yeah, there's not really much that I could add to that in terms of depth, apart from the fact that I could say that I agree. I also think it's going to be Inter Miami for all of the reasons that you mentioned. And I just think that it's just too much quality. And again, New York City, they've had a fine season. They've been just, perfectly okay, like no problem whatsoever. But you're running up against, one of the best players in the world, a really good crew, just a solid team. And it's probably not going to be their day. So I'm also going to take Inter Miami. I'm pretty sure that most will. And San Diego will take on Vancouver in the other conference final. Gee, who do you got moving on to the MLS Cup final?
It's funny because if you had asked me this leading into the playoffs, I probably would have said, "Oh, like Vancouver will win it." Like, not easy, but because they were the top 2 teams in the West, which we don't see very often, by the way. Um, I would have just kind of instinctually just said, Vancouver's going to win, fantastic season, super deep Concacaf Champions League run, like just all the quality there, and San Diego, just and not I don't mean to just kind of disrespect them and say just but they're very much just a team greater than the sum of their parts. But having watched San Diego get through these couple of rounds of the playoffs, I I can see them sneaking their way into MLS Cup, and I don't mean sneaking again in a bad way. Just I think Vancouver is going to dominate a ton of the ball. I think they're going to have a lot of possession, but I just think the San Diego team is going to find a way to squeak a 1-0 win here. Um, yeah, I just don't think it's going to be Vancouver's year. I think kind of the Cinderella story is the San Diego team, and I think they're going to unfortunately run into Lionel Messi in top form. But I do think that San Diego is going to get through here.
It's a fair pick, and then like I said earlier, if you're San Diego, you got to be pleased with where you're at because no one's really betting on you. Nobody is really looking at you per se. You're a new team, the whole bit. I'm purely just going to take Vancouver just based on where my heart wants the final to go, and I want Vancouver to be in it because I'd love to see a Canadian team get in there. I like the look of Vancouver this year. They're a super entertaining team to watch, but I don't hate your pick whatsoever, and I think that this is going to be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to the San Diego-Vancouver matchup, but I will take Vancouver. So, G, we're going to go the same on Inter Miami. We'll differ on San Diego and Vancouver. A reminder to our listeners that the MLS Conference Finals go down this Saturday, November 29th at 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time on your local television sports network. I know where my eyes are going to be Saturday night, Gitano, and I presume the same for you.
I'm gonna have probably Survivor Series on the second screen, but the big screens for sure are gonna have MLS playoffs.
And if I stand correct, I know this is a soccer show, but I think your Habs are doing pretty well this year so far. No?
We're doing all right. So it's easier to watch the Habs on the phone, wrestling on one TV, and soccer on the other TV. Just in terms of subscriptions and being logged in on things, I've found that's the easiest way to do it.
100%. And I can't wait for Saturday night. I got to tell you, I'm sure the text messages back and forth will be perfectly awesome, and definitely looking forward to the games. The Carabao Cup round of 16 has all wrapped up, and we will take you through the results from those games along with the teams who have qualified for the quarterfinals. We start by reviewing the most one-sided affair of the entire round, and that was Brentford, who took care of business against Grimsby Town, defeating them by a score of 5-0. Gee, this was always going to go one way, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fun to have the story of Grimsby Town going through, but realistically, Brentford are a solid, probably even better than solid Premier League team, and even their B side was going to be enough to win this game. So no surprises here, really.
Yeah, no surprises there, but I'm sure what you can attest to that you're happy about is that they knocked United out of the cup, so they got one step further than your rivals. We'll call it, if you can call them rivals. Things were a lot tighter between Wickham and Fulham, jokes aside. That required penalties, by the way, to determine a winner after the match ended 1-1. Fulham did prevail on penalties, scoring 5 to Wickham's 4. Gee, this was a resilient effort here from Wickham, but Fulham booked their place in the next round.
Yeah, I mean, not the tie I would have predicted to go to penalties by any stretch. Uh, Fulham, a ton of quality in that team, really thought that they would see it through just a touch more comfortably, especially considering they dominated possessions and shots, expected goals. Really, just every statistic you could look at, they dominated. So yeah, really kind of shocking to see it go to penalties, but not shocked to see Fulham go through.
Yeah, and again, cup games could be really weird, can't they, where anything can happen, so this kind of speaks to that. A good performance wasn't enough to see Wrexham beat Cardiff City as the Bluebirds win by a score of 2-1. Gee, Cardiff move on, and it's Wrexham who suffer a bit of a heartbreak.
Yeah, I know probably the big Cinderella story of the Carabao Cup would have been them going through. But yeah, like a really even game, possession split 50-50, expected goals close, shots and shots on target, relatively close within a few. So Wrexham can definitely, hold their heads up high, knowing that they, gave it their all and didn't kind of fold under this pressure. But yeah, heartbreak for them in the end, and a huge kind of result for for Cardiff going through into the next round.
Yeah, 100%. And it's Cinderella story, if you will, does end, but we'll see what Cardiff can produce in the next round. Swansea had a dream start against Manchester City, going ahead 1-0, although it didn't last. It took some doing, but Manchester City win by a score of 3-1. Gee, this was a really dominant game by Manchester City, and I mean, anybody who watched even a bit of the game would have saw that. Only one shot from Swansea in which they capitalized, but despite maybe some nervy moments in the early stages, your Manchester City go through on the back of a dominant performance. Take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the script from every time we played Swansea in the last nearly 10 years. We start with a lot of possession. They get one break, score. Sometimes they get two breaks and score two. And then City have to claw our way back and get a couple goals. But yeah, I thought it was pretty much what I would expect from City. Especially, considering the rotation of the squad. We didn't go with a full lineup. Holland was rested. Marmoush started. A couple academy players got in. So I thought it was pretty much what I expected, which was it's not going to be the perfect firing Pep Guardiola machine. There's going to be some ups and downs, a little bit of time to get some rhythm. But yeah, that second half was a lot more what most fans would expect, which was the control of the possession, the attacking, the shots, and then eventually all the goals. So yeah, a little nervier than I would have liked, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, my dad says it all the time in sports. Like, it doesn't matter what game you have, you can't have it all. So it's one of those things, like, early nervy moments, but in the end, ended up dominating, and rightfully so, ended up winning. Arsenal took care of Brighton by a score of 2-0 and move on to the next round. Gee, this was a heavily rotated side for Arsenal in this one. A very slow first half where Brighton was the better of the two teams, but a strong second half performance from the Gunners sees them go through.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak too much on it because I'll give you the floor here. But what I will say for Brighton to have rotated, not a ton of their team, but as much as they did, and for Arsenal to rotate as much as they did, the scoreline I think almost I don't want to say it flatters Arsenal, but I would have thought it would be a little closer. But you look at the stats, I thought it was actually a pretty even game.
Yeah.
Brighton created a few fewer chances, but kind of the overall picture, the scoreline kind of represents that. But I'll leave the floor to you here.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's a tale of two halves as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, Brighton were the better team in the first half. Arsenal were the better team in the second half. Two really good chances from Brighton in the first half, which had me scared. Which I thought, no, those are sure goals. They missed them both, and sometimes when you miss those early ones, as you know, you give the other team life. I'm sure that there was a halftime team talk, and Arsenal came out in the second half inspired, played some really good football, capitalized on chances. They go through. So happy to see it, especially with a heavily rotated side. In terms of a team causing another nightmares, that would be Crystal Palace for Liverpool at this moment in time. Mind you, I think everyone's causing Liverpool nightmares right now. I think 9 losses in the last 12, if I'm not mistaken. Another defeat suffered by Liverpool at the hands of Palace, this time to knock them out of the cup at Anfield by a score of 3-0. Palace were excellent in this game en route to beating Liverpool by 3-0. Palace have been having a really good season. I know they lost to Strasbourg today at the time of recording, I believe, in the Europa League. But what can you say here about this game? Absolutely wild.
Yeah, so like I wanted the overarching kind of theme here is like I'm not as awful as Liverpool were. Palace were fantastic. They were
Yeah.
so good. I think Liverpool could have been at their best, and Palace still would have won this game. Maybe not 3-0, but I really just think Palace were that fantastic on the day. It's dominant, really, from start to finish. I mean, it's so weird seeing a Liverpool team not be like just as dominant as Klopp's teams were, and even last year, Slott's team was fairly dominant most of the time.
But
But
especially
really,
at
they
Anfield, right? Losing
right.
at Anfield. Yeah.
Like it would be different if this was at Selhurst Park. You could go, oh, the Palace fans, and the atmosphere. It was a little different, but like, and I know that Liverpool fans will say that they had rotation, they had young players in there, but like even then, like just for how poorly they played, like that's just unacceptable, really. Because yes, even Andy Robertson was playing at center back, which he's not typically doing. Like that still doesn't excuse like how just poor in every aspect they were. They created nothing. They defended poorly. They didn't transition at all. I just thought they were just awful. And then on the other side, you have Palace, who were just at their firing at their best. Yeah, really just run out of superlatives to say for Palace in this. They were just unbelievably good. You see why they won the Carabao Cup last year, why they've been, or not the Carabao Cup, sorry, the FA Cup last year, why they're chasing the Carabao Cup now, why they've been kind of a just outside the European places team for the last couple of years. Just fantastic, fantastic game from them. And happy to see Liverpool crash out because I can't say the word I want to say, but if
Exactly.
you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I think that watching our show would agree with that. Yeah, Palace were fantastic on the day, and there's no doubt about it. They deserve to win. They deserve to go through. And every team has an Achilles heel, if you like. And right now, it definitely is Palace for Liverpool. And
Well,
yeah,
it seems
good on.
like it's everyone for Liverpool at this point.
Wow. Yeah, at this moment, at the time of recording, but at the time of the game, it was like, oh, Palace turned them over again. And then now it just seems like it's everybody. So it's that championship season winning syndrome the year after, isn't it? Where there's the drop off that, oh, God, they are human. So yeah, Palace go through, Liverpool are out, and Liverpool right now just trying to find a win anywhere. Goals galore would be the storyline of Wolves versus Chelsea, but it was Chelsea who got the better of Wolves, winning by a score of 4-3. What was the difference in this one?
um, Honestly, couldn't tell you. It's so funny. You look at 4-3, the red card. Um, Maybe the worst exciting game I've ever seen in my life. Um, just it felt like there was no quality in it, but just everything was going in.
Yeah, yeah,
That was kind of, it wasn't that like these were fantastic like worldies or like great build up play. It just felt like anytime the ball went remotely near the net, it ended up in. Um, and yeah, it was just I don't want to say Chelsea, well, because we know Chelsea does have more quality in their squad, more kind of individual quality than Wolves, because Wolves are just atrocious right now. Um,
they're on point. Sorry, I know we're going to touch on this next week, but they're on pace right now to have the worst ever Premier League point total of all time.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they break Derby County's record because they are just awful. So it's so shocking when they pull up with 3 goals and put in some effort and nearly win a game. Taking Chelsea scoring a goal in the 89th minute to seal it. Um, yeah, so I don't to be short, I don't really know what the difference was in this game. It was just it feels like Wolves are doing everything they can to lose, and Chelsea trying to do everything they can to win but not win. And just it was just a mess of a game.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was entertaining in a different way. I'll give it that. It was like so many ups and downs and what have you. But the only thing I'm going to put it down to, the difference in the game was simply one goal and probably a better team in Chelsea, despite the fact that they were rotated. They still have a massive team, as we talk about often. So Wolves just trying to find a win anywhere, but a bad season just turns to worse, really. Newcastle made the most of their home crowd, defeating visiting Tottenham by a score of 2-0 and thus booking their spot in the quarter final. Gee, I got to tell you, I totally regret picking Tottenham here. Never doing that again. Should have known that. Just pure stupidity. But your take on this game, I'm really disappointed by it. Not
Yeah,
disappointed in the sense that Newcastle happy about that, but disappointed in myself for picking Tottenham. Very stupid.
I think everyone listening, and watching picked up what you were saying there. But yeah, this I'm excited. I always get super excited when a game kind of plays out exactly how I think it's gonna go. Where I'm like, I've seen the script for this game, Newcastle Tottenham at St James Park. Like we know what this is gonna look like. Uh, we knew Tottenham were gonna fold like a wet paper towel. But really, what I really want to focus on is the Newcastle striker Nick Woltemade. What
Yeah,
a player! And we'll talk about it next time we record when we talk about the Premier League. But even against City last weekend, just he's such a pain in the ass.
yeah.
He's so good with the ball at his feet. He's
Yeah,
massive. He runs. He is so incredible. And really in this game, I loved what I saw from him. It felt like everything Newcastle did went through him, or was like he was at the receiving end of it. But he started everything. Like he is a phenomenal player. I know they paid what 90 million
yeah,
euros for him in that ballpark.
yeah.
Worth every penny. If they end up with an Alexander Isak situation again, they're going to be selling him for a British transfer record. Like he is just a phenomenal player. And again, it's funny you look at a team like Tottenham who desperately needs a number 9, and you're like, why? Maybe price point they weren't going to ever match, but like, how are you not even like sniffing around that, inquiring, being a little bit interested? Like, um, because that's a signing a player like him is going to win Newcastle trophies, and for Tottenham, not signing a player like that is going to be the reason why they don't win trophies. And it was kind of plain to see in that game. He was dominant everywhere. I know. So FootMob, which I use for all my things, only has him as a 7.5 rating. I would have given him a 9 or a 10. Like he was fantastic, involved in everything. Like I kind of was talking with Messi. Doesn't do tons of defensive work, but does what he needs to do, helps the team out when they don't have the ball. I thought, obviously, he's a bit difference maker in the game, but I think he's going to be a difference maker in Newcastle's entire season.
I do too. And there was a lot of well, not discontent, that wouldn't be the right word, but a lot of question marks around him when he got signed in the summer. Oh, he's young. Who is this guy? Is he going to be able to adapt to the Premier League? This, that, and the other. He's doing just fine to me, and I think that he's going to be. What I see him as a striker, I see him as a focal point up front. That if not everything's going through him, he's your target guy. He's the guy that's going to make things happen, something out of nothing. And he was phenomenal in this game, as was Newcastle, and rightly so to win it. And perhaps Tottenham should have not focused so much on Eberechi Eze, which didn't work out, by the way, as well. But they did 3 against him, so they shouldn't have focused so much on that. They should have focused on a striker, but I digress. Still disappointed myself for picking them, but not disappointed that they lost. I think that's fantastic. And to review our picks, Gitano, you went 4 for 8, and I went 6 for 8. So again, not easy games to pick in fairness, but who for you was the big standout from this round?
I mean, after the performance, it's got to be Crystal Palace, and they're almost approaching that point where like, and like they're not quite there yet. And I don't want to, but like they're almost near that point where like when Arsenal and City win in these rounds of the competition, where you're just like, yeah, like kind of expected them to just go through. Like, they're just they're I don't know what it is. They're just made for cup competitions. Um, and they just seem to rise to the occasion every time. And I really hope that City don't have to play them at any point. I hope someone else takes them out before the final, because I know that they're going to be a massive, massive pain if we have to play them in the final again. But yeah, my absolute standout, Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and I'm with you too. I'm not going to pick anybody different. I will say that Brentford do look a good outfit. They can't be underestimated, but no doubt about it, Crystal Palace looking the best side by far. And the quarterfinal matchups, Gitano for the Carabao Cup, are set, and they are as follows. Ironically, Arsenal do have to take on Crystal Palace in the quarterfinal, so that is definitely going to be a tough matchup. Cardiff City will be playing against Chelsea. Your Manchester City will face Brentford, and Newcastle will play Fulham. So, Gitano, we're not going to be making any picks here today. We will do in a future show, but I anticipate in that show when we do make those picks, it's not going to be so easy to determine winners.
No, and I mean, like, even like the quote unquote easiest matchup to call there, the Cardiff Chelsea one, I still have zero faith that Chelsea like comfortably wins that. And obviously things can change in terms of like injuries and guys coming back from injury before the middle of December here. But like I think as it stands, like that's not an easy game for Chelsea, and obviously not an easy game for Cardiff. But I don't think it's considering they're the only team not in the Premier League at this point. I really think that it kind of should be the easy game, but it absolutely isn't. 4 is really, really tough. Like, I think we could both go 0 for 4 in terms of predictions and not really feel too ashamed about it. Unless someone gets really blown out that we don't expect. Yeah, I think this is when you look at kind of quarterfinals for the Carabao Cup in the last few years, this is about as good as it gets.
I would say so, most definitely. Like, these are difficult matches to call. I mean, if you don't want to include Cardiff City in there, everyone is a top team, really, or at least a top half Premier League team. But Cardiff City rightfully deserving to be there, and they've got nothing to lose as far as I'm concerned. They can throw the kitchen sink at it, and like they're the underdog, so who cares? So yeah, all of these games I think are set to be just bangers, really. So definitely looking forward to them. The quarterfinal matches are set to be played on December 16th, and in a future episode of Full Time, we will preview those quarterfinal matches for you all. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we get ready to round out tonight's show, we want to extend our thanks to all of you, our wonderful listeners, for tuning in. Thank you for being with us. G, great work tonight, sir.
Great work to you as well. Hopefully stay warm for the next 6 months. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend's Premier League games. And then I think we've got an episode coming up next week if I'm leading us into something.
You're leading us something perfectly, but yes, definitely, Gitano, pleasure to be with you, man. Looking forward to Premier League being back, well, not back, Premier League being on telly, and to be watching those MLS games as well. Cannot wait for that. Gitano, you led us perfectly into it. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of December 1st, 2025. In that show, we'll take a look at Europe's Big Five, and we will preview the MLS Cup final, as well as taking a look back at the conference finals. As always, we'll keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at suitoday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.